A viewer asks, what is the best way to find the right lawyer for my case? I think this is a particularly important question because I keep hearing all kinds of stories from all kinds of people about their bad experience working with lawyers. From lawyers who don't return phone calls on emails to lawyers who don't understand their case or don't even know the applicable laws to their situation. That's why I prepared a more detailed response to this question that I would like to share with you. First, despite all the technological advances out there, the best way to find the right lawyer for your case, in my opinion, remains the same today that it was 50 years ago or even 100 years ago, and that's word of mouth. This is especially true if your case, if your situation doesn't require immediate attention, like it is in criminal cases. If you need help with a civil case where you have time to find the right attorney and take the right type of action, there is no reason to hurry and hire the very first attorney you're talking to and the very first attorney who is willing to take your case. Asking your friends, friends of friends, asking your present or former co-workers for a recommendation of an attorney with whom they have had good experience working on a case similar to yours or in a case that belongs to the same area of law is a much better way to find the right lawyer for your case than most other ways. Some people choose to work with an attorney who has the sharpest and the flashiest website or the biggest billboard in town, forgetting that the quality of that attorney's web designer or a billboard creator says little, if anything, about that attorney's legal skills or even their interpersonal skills that are often just as important when handling a legal case and working with a client. Some other people choose to work with the very first lawyer who returns their phone call. While prompt communication is important in every field, and it's a good sign if an attorney you contacted gets back to you quickly, it's certainly not enough. That alone is not enough for you to make up your mind as to who you should be working with. Some other people choose an attorney based on that attorney's confidence in their case, forgetting that all too often those who overpromise also tend to underdeliver, especially in the area of litigation where an attorney cannot and should not be making any promises about the outcome of your case given all the variables that will come into play, not to mention the fact that they only know one side of the story when you're talking to them, which is yours. They have not even had a chance to familiarize themselves with the opposing side's story. Finally, many people look for the cheapest attorney they can find, deciding to work with someone who charges, let's say, 35% contingency instead of 40%, or someone who charges $350 an hour instead of $385, to only later deal with tons of frustration of getting substandard representation. That's not to say that the cheaper attorneys are necessarily not good or that the most expensive attorney is always the best, but it does mean that you shouldn't choose a lawyer based on their rate that they charge, especially when it comes to a relatively insignificant fee difference between one attorney and another. This brings me back to the first point about word of mouth. Asking the people who you know and whose opinion you trust is the first thing you should do when looking for the right lawyer for your case, or when looking for any type of professional for that matter. It doesn't cost anything, and it might connect you with a far better option of a lawyer for your case than a random search online or elsewhere. And if your word of mouth search doesn't lead you anywhere and doesn't produce any good referrals, you can still go back to all the other options I mentioned. So, you have nothing to lose but only to gain by going with the word of mouth first and then with everything else later.